The issue at stake between nominalists and realists turns on the reality or unreality of universals, that is, general terms that cover a multitude of instances, such as animal, mammal, humankind. It goes on and on. A nominalist holds that such universal terms are fictions that we invent for our own convenience. The realist, by contrast, holds that they are real. Inevitably, the discussion between these two schools soon turns to the hackneyed question, what is real? An old chestnut that students and sometimes tutors occasionally toss out as conversation stoppers. But Peirce is not afraid of this question. He has an answer for it. By real, Peirce means, quote, that which is unaffected by what we may think of it, close quote. The real is what we cannot wish away or think away. My daydreams are unreal because I can banish them with a thought. The stone in my shoe stays there, whatever I think, until I reach down and take it out. The stone is real, my daydreams are not. But what are the real things? And are logical universals among them? Here, opinions differ. Some people suppose, reasonably, that the real comes to us in sensation. Sensations are what connect us to the world out there. They don't change with our thoughts. So, for example, look at this. It's a drinking cup. I see it, you see it, we all see it. Its reality does not permit us to imagine it away. The nominalist would tell us it is real because we sense it, and the fact that it is a cup is just a label that we put on a pattern of sensations. The alternative to that sensation-based nominalist approach is realism. Realism is the idea that general ideas that embrace and coordinate a multitude of sensations have a reality that individual sensations do not. Let me repeat that. Realism says that general ideas that embrace and coordinate a multitude of sensations have a reality that individual sensations do not. Peirce offers the following story to illustrate the distinction between sensation and the reality of generals. Suppose, he says, two men, one deaf and the other blind. One hears a man declare he means to kill another, hears the report of the pistol, and hears the victim cry. The other sees the murder done. Their sensations are affected in the highest degree with their individual peculiarities. The first information that their sensations will give them, their first inferences will be more nearly alike. The first information their sensations will give them, their first inferences will be more nearly alike, but still different. The one having, for example, the idea of a man shouting, the other of a man with a threatening aspect. But their final conclusions, the thought the remotest from sense, will be identical and free from the one-sidedness of their idiosyncrasies. The parable warns the reader not to confuse the real with the sensory. The blind man heard only sounds. The deaf man saw only sights. Their sensations did not overlap in any way. If the real meant what has an existence independent of your mind or mine, then these two people's sensations are the opposite of real, since the difference between what the one person experienced and the other depended entirely on their peculiar competences. However, when the blind man reflects on what he's heard and the deaf man on what he saw, the two converge on a reality that does not depend on either of them. They don't agree on the flash of light that the deaf man saw but the blind man did not. They don't agree on the shout and the bang which the blind man heard but the deaf man did not. They do agree that there was a murder. That was the fact that does not depend on the peculiarities of perceptions available to either observer. That a general term removed from immediate sensation is more stable, more permanent, and independent of the peculiarities of this or that individual is crucial for Peirce. The closer you get to the raw sensation of experience, if there even is such a thing, which I think Peirce doubts, the more confused and erratic it seems. To locate what is universal requires the sort of work that our minds do all the time as they correct for odd perspectives and fill in blanks omitted by our nerve impulses. We identify things according to their sort and kind as best we can. Our freshmen know this from their classification practicum in the mountains up behind the campus. This is a juniper tree, they say. That's a ponderosa pine. By so identifying them, they slot them into categories that are communicable and independent of this or that observer. They employ universals that are, in this way of thinking, real. Peirce is a realist. His realism is not a sort of mystical Platonism that imagines that the ideals wander about in heaven. It's a more commonplace recognition that the world we live in does not consist of a blooming, buzzing confusion of disorganized sensation, but in identifiable things, juniper trees and clouds and tables and animals. All these labels are universals. They are in the world that we experience. They are the world that we experience. The manifold of sensations that we encounter is unreal for us until we find universals in it. Then we say, it's a juniper tree, or it's an aspen. Where all my jumble of sensations is mine alone, an identified object, a juniper or an aspen, is real. That is what is independent of who is looking at it. Peirce considered that his realism was consistent with his continued allegiance, at least in part, with Kant's viewpoint. He understood Kant's Copernican revolution in philosophy as a turn toward realism in his sense of the term, since it meant that one was, quote, to regard reality as the normal product of mental action and not as the incognizable cause of it.